K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com. K98talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98talk.com.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while...
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
By a very special guest, Backpack and Yoda, and again, this is Rick Robinson hosting America Off the Rails. This will be a very special show for us because we do not normally have guests on this show, but these gentlemen were kind enough to invite me for an interview last weekend, and I decided to return the favor, so they have opted to hang in for as long as they want to, up to the entire hour. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Rick, it is our pleasure to be on with you. We are really delighted to spread the word with you. You've got quite an impressive show. We're invited to a lot of shows, including Fox News, and it's really a distinct pleasure to be with you. What did a little bird tell you, Backpack?
Well, we're excited to announce to all our listeners and audience that Ricky Robinson and the Spark Radio Network has been selected for the TopTalkRadio.com. And Cam Kaplan, who is our CEO and one of our close friends, is very picky about who ends up on TopTalkRadio.com, which is the conservative directory of the top 100 conservative shows in the entire country. So congratulations, Ricky Robinson.
Yeah, you guys, we talked about that on you guys' show as well. And again, next time you speak to Ken, just tell him it's my honor because, like I said, the fact that I'm on a website that has some of the best talk show hosts in the nation up there with me, I'm not quite sure how I made the list, just being honest, but it's really great that I'm on there. So again, next time you see him, just tell him I said thank you.
Certainly. Well, Backpack is spot on. It's Ken's a good friend. In fact, we're on his board of directors, both Backpack and I, and our founding editor-in-chief of our sister magazine, themagnifiedview.com. So the three of us are a part of his board of directors. We spoke with Ken yesterday, and he's delighted to have you on. He vets all the shows. As you know, boss, you're on with Limbaugh, Hannity, Meg Kelly, all the top-ranked conservative people. Good on you, brother. A little about us for your audience, if you will. We are multifaceted. We do three things. We are Voices of Global Freedom Radio. It's taken off under Backpack's direction. We feature guests. We're a counter-terrorist basis people. Among our guests are Congressman Isa Duncan Hunter, retired general officers of the Army, Pulitzer nominee, Fox News people like that. Under Backpack's direction, the radio has taken off beyond our wildest aspirations. We're a pleasure to be with you now. In addition, our sister magazine, themagnifiedview.com, was founded in 2010 by our distinguished editor-in-chief, Janorama. It's a millions-visitor sister magazine that features counterterrorism. It's analysis of news you can use, and we distinguish ourselves by providing actionable tips and hints to survive and thrive in these troubled, dangerous times, Rick. Finally, we are an investigative arm. We're currently investigating the operation in Afghanistan known as Extortion 17, where 22 members of the SEALs, Sea, Air, Land, Navy guys, were killed in a helicopter they shouldn't have been on a mission they shouldn't have been sent on. So our investigative arm of seasoned folk with advanced academic credentials, they're multilingual, they're around the country, some in Europe and elsewhere. Their specialties come from military intelligence, special operations, are some retired folks from the British SAS, 22 SAS, their counter-terrorist unit and otherwise. So we're three things. We're Voices of Global Freedom Radio. We're the MagnifiedView.com magazine, and we are an investigative arm. All three legs of our triangle help each other, of course. For your audience, we're delighted to address tonight. Thank you again. We appear as Yoda, Backpack, and the editor-in-chief of the magazine, Janorama. We are still very active in the field with major letter U.S. federal agencies, some municipal departments, in counterterrorism training, strategies, and operations. So to keep the tin hat folk and a couple cartels from our front door, we appear in public as Yoda, Backpack, and Janorama. If your fine audience will, take a look at the magnifiedview.com. Look under Yoda's Safe House, one of the top tabs, and you'll get a pretty good overview of what we really do to earn our crust of bread, Rick. Anyway, over to you. Thanks again for having us on.
No problem at all, guys, and I do appreciate you taking a second to give the listeners to my show a little bit of your background. Now, why don't you, I know you've mentioned an overview of some of your guests, so I do have a couple of questions. As somebody who's starting to branch out into the guest format, what have been a couple of your favorite interviews that you guys have done?
We've had so many, Rick. I'll let Backpack. Recently, we had on a famous Egyptian who was born and raised into fierce Islam. And he since found out that it wasn't the place to be. He's a loyal American conservative patriot now. His name is IQ, what is it, Backpack?
His name is IQ Razuli, and he's using a pseudonym, and he has to call in. He's had a lot of threats against his life, and he's done the research. He's spent around 30 years as a scholar on Islam, and he's proven that it's a cult, and he has $1 million bet with CAIR Care, which is a Muslim Brotherhood terrorist group here in the United States. It's a nonprofit, but it's definitely terror. He's to prove that basically that Islam, he does everything to really prove Islam is a cult. It's not a religion. And so nobody's been able to take that bet through. He's got an incredible amount of research, and people can Google his name. It's AIQ and then Razuli, ARASSOOLI.
Another one, Rick, is a fellow named Charlie Strange. He's the father of Michael Strange, one of the SEALs killed in Extortion 17. Charlie is a good close friend. We work with him in our investigative life. He, in fact, grabbed POTUS, the President of the United States, by the shoulders in Delaware. That's not an exaggeration. President Barack Hussein Obama dared to tell the father of this lost seal, said he was going to tell him about the seal. That lit Charlie up, and he told the president he didn't need to hear about his son. He needed to hear how his son was set up. He's working with Larry Klayman now, Esquire, a neighbor of ours. Larry is pursuing a civil suit against Vice President Biden, the head of NSA, and others, and because they took over Charlie's computer and telephone. He was able to prove this forensically, meaning hard legal proof. So they're suing the government. They're doing very well with it. So Charlie's a friend. That interview stands out to me, Backpack. What other ones stand out to you?
We've also had Bethany Blankley, who's one of the Fox columnists. She's written for Washington Times, Western Journalism, and she brought up so many things about what's going on in Europe. And actually, this was before the Charlie Hebdo in France, and she brought up how embedded the Muslims are in so many countries. And she went with Michael Huckabee on a mission to go over and really investigate Europe. And it's the no-go zones, and there's a lot more of that going on, of them getting embedded into Europe. And also, we just are announcing a brand new website in conjunction with MagnifiedView.com and GlobalFreedomRadio.com. It's called TerrorCamps.com, and people will be able to see and identify all the terror camps in the United States. They're politically correct. They're trying to call them communal living, where the Muslims are, but they are terror camps where they're practicing jihad, and you hear machine guns going off and all kind, and they've got compounds and underground networks, and it's all over the United States. So we're exposing that with terrorcamps.com.
How many are there, Ron?
Well, the latest statistics are well over 35. They're dotted all over the United States, and we've written about 5 posts right now, all up the East Coast. We're going to eventually get all these identified, but at least 35. But there's a lot that aren't even known.
That's really cunning on their part, Rick. That, as you know, throughout Europe and in Dearborn, Michigan, and Coldwater, Michigan, there are so-called no-go zones. They're run under Sharia law. U.S. police and French police aren't allowed in there. The fire department isn't allowed in there. Backpack's terror camps here are really clever. They're in remote areas. They're dotted all over. They're way under the radar, so to speak. And they don't have to worry. They're self-contained. They don't have to worry about anybody coming, interfering with them, or putting an eye on them. Well done, Backpack, for exposing those, brother. Really well done.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, and it's a lot of need. A lot of people need to really be aware of what's going on. There's another one in Texas, Sweeney, Texas, that it's just hard to believe. It's all. There's one in Oklahoma too that's happening. They're just all over the place. So check out terrorcamps.com.
I traveled. I went in the counterterrorist business in '74, Rick, before it was fashionable. After a Munich Olympic massacre of Israeli athletes by Islamic terrorists, a group formed then called IPS, and all of the free governments for the first time formed counterterrorist teams. We in the United States formed Delta out of Special Forces, the renowned British 22 SAS, German GSG-9, and so forth. We visited 110 countries in 11 years. I say again, we visited 110 countries in 11 years, training newly formed counterterrorist forces. I put paper money into a baggie. One night I had some good hand-labeled cognac and counted them up. There was 110 of them. So there we are. Over to you, Rick.
Wow, so you guys have been doing some pretty heavy-hitting work lately. Now, I did want to touch on something because I've actually seen a few articles popping up about that too. I read an article not too long ago that apparently countries like Egypt and the United Arab Emirates have been trying to warn the U.S. about CARE being an extension, and CARE meaning the Council on American Islamic Relations, being an extension of the Muslim Brotherhood for quite some time now.
Absolutely.
That concerns me.
The Brotherhood is the world's oldest Islamic terrorist organization, founded in 1928. Inexplicably, or maybe explicably, President Obama formed the Arab Spring in Tunisia, pushing 3 years from that. His hope was to upseat all the despots and insert the Brotherhood and, in fact, Al-Qaeda. He was successful in Tunisia, unsuccessful in Libya. That's up for grabs. And he was briefly successful installing the Brotherhood in an enormous 83 million people Egypt. But the military kicked them out now. So Egypt is joined with the Emirates. The last thing they want is Al-Qaeda and ISIS in there running them. So that's what happened with that part. Good news for Egypt, good news for the Emirates, and good news for the United States, Rick.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the biggest thing that concerns me is, I hear all these people that talk about how CARE's done good work. I mean, honestly, we have a libertarian host who's actually interviewed the local, I'm not sure what his title is, but I know he's really high up in the local chapter of CARE. And the interview went fairly well. I mean, I wasn't warned about it ahead of time, so I didn't get a chance to prep any questions that I would have asked him should I have been the one being allowed to do the interviewing. However, once he found that I was conservative, he had no interest at all coming onto my show. I'm sure because he probably would have not liked the direction some of my questions have went. That being said, it just seems to me that when people that are from that part of the world start trying to warn you that, these people may not be what they appear, it seems to me it would be a good idea to listen, not just turn a blind eye. And not only that, but seem to open the White House even more. I mean, I've seen more and more reports about folks with connections to the Muslim Brotherhood itself being in the White House quite often.
No question. We have a lot of guests on now. I'll turn it over to Backpack in that they have been there. They've committed the worst sin in Islam in the Quran, apostasy. They've abandoned their faith. We've had a lot of leading ones on Backpack, including Nani. What was her story?
Well, we've had Nani Darwish, who also was from Egypt, and her father was a general who was killed by Israel, and she grew up in the Muslim area as a young kid and then came to the United States, and she would attend the mosque meetings, and she would say how she was shocked how they just were all about hate, and when they talk about the Quran and everything in the mosque, she said she couldn't stand it anymore, what the Quran teaches and being in the mosque. So she quit Muslim and she became a Christian. And so she travels all around the world. She was in Argentina recently, giving lectures about what Islam and the horrors of the Quran and their teachings.
Here are the facts, Rick. If folks will look at the magnifiedview.com. Were we on the moon looking down, 1 out of 4 people in the world are Muslims, and it's growing. There's approximately 1.7 billion of them. 300 million are dedicated to jihad. That means, pure and simple, all over the Quran, all over the Hadith, which is Muhammad's writings, that they have to recruit, suborn infidels, that would be you and I, or kill them. You can't, I've traveled Islam from Morocco to Egypt. I lived or existed all over the Arabian Peninsula. You can't be a Muslim with a small m. You can be a Catholic with a small c and take your mother to church on Easter. You can be a Presbyterian, and you can't be a Muslim with a small m. It is every molecule and minute of their being. The Quran runs their life, their finances, their thoughts. Their atrocities to women folk are published each and every day on the mainstream media. Their subordination and abuse of women is unbelievable. We have so-called honor killings in the United States now that are being underplayed by the liberal press. That is, they come here, and if the daughters get a little wild, they kill them. One under trial now, cab driver, killed his two drivers in a cab. ISIS, the Islamic State, an entire state now, sovereign state in Iraq and Syria, just killed 11 young men because against the strict Quran, they did the outrageous act of going to a freaking soccer game. They're beheading people regularly, and regrettably, lamentably, our president is passing over it. In his speech the other night, he said, quote, "The terrorism is now in the shadows." This guy doesn't attend his morning briefings, which is the finest in the world. Doesn't he watch news, or doesn't he have a newspaper, Rick, or what, of what's going on with Muslims?
Well, actually, according
what's not going on with tall Swedish nuns.
According to the president, he seem to tell the American people he doesn't know about most of the things that happen until he hears about them on the news. So I guess he doesn't attend his morning briefings, but I guess he must be a fan of CNN or MSNBC, because Lord knows he doesn't watch Fox News.
We have, because I'm older than a rock, we have, and I've lived in all the hot spots, so we've met young budding journalists and spooks, agents, and that's who lives in the hot spots. And we've grown up with them over the decades. Some are retired now, and some are sons and daughters of those that were. So we have exquisite high-level sources. We have them in major letter agencies. Some retired and some still work there. So we are so fortunate, aren't we, Backpack, with the sources we have?
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We just recently had retired Brigadier General Adina, who has been supporting the Kurds on the ground cause. He was embedded for over 1 year with the Kurds as a colonel rank, and then he's really pushing hard to bring supplies and help to the Kurds who are fighting ISIS in Iraq and Syria on the ground in Kobane and many of the other cities we're hearing about. But unfortunately, the abomination, they're sending the supplies and military to the wrong people. And, you know, basically Iraq isn't even a country anymore. It's just some, I don't even know what it's not really anything anymore. So the people, we need to help the Kurds.
How are they not how is the U.S. not sending needed arms, ammunition, and gear to the Kurds, right?
Well, the reports I've seen is that they're dropping the stuff, and then ISIS is grabbing all of it, because they have reports where ISIS actually has U.S. government, AK-47s and munitions that say U.S. government. So instead of the Kurds getting it, it's going to ISIS.
Well, they're sending it to the phony government in Baghdad, aren't they?
Yeah. So as we all see now, Baghdad is no longer, and Iraq is no longer a government. And the only thing left is really that green zone, I guess. And, I guess the question is how long that's going to last. But we did see reports that last was around 3,200 what's called advisors, which are really boots on the ground, is what we've seen, have been sent back after the official Iraq was over. And now I'm hearing reports that another 1,000 so-called advisors, which is really military, so it'll be over 4,000 in Iraq.
It's Vietnam again, all over again, Rick, only it has sand instead of jungle. I've been to Afghanistan, I've been to Iraq, and I did too much Vietnam. So it's the same thing all over again, only longer this time. Somehow the President of the United States, as is notorious, and his cabinet can't get the words out, Islamic terrorist. The common wisdom, the popular wisdom, is we absolutely have no strategy at all. We have no idea what the hell we're doing. We're averaging 2 bombs a day. We kill a camel in an unoccupied building. And therefore, so it's said, he's avoiding even the words because that would point to our having no strategy. In addition, he has taken the words Muslim, Islam, terrorist out of all the training manuals now. So military major agencies, FBI, CIA, NSA, no longer are allowed to use those words, Rick. Incredible.
So wait, he's removed the words Muslim, terrorist, and Islamic from training manuals? Did I hear you say that right?
Yes, sir. We train federal agencies. We train some large municipal agencies and like that. And they have classes, of course, on counterterrorism. There is the famed Joint Terrorism Task Force, JTTF. They're full of our heroes, right? They're full of FBI, CIA, other agencies. And they train, of course, against the current threat. That would be Islamic terrorists, of course. And from the White House, they are disallowed in their manuals and in class to use the words Islamic, Muslim, and terrorist, in that order. So it clearly shows where we are, doesn't it?
Yeah, that just seems completely crazy to me. But I think you're right. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I don't think the administration wants to let everyone know exactly the truth, which is that they don't seem to know what they're doing. I've also heard rumblings from a few people, from a few news agencies here and there, and some folks that I know that are in terrestrial talk radio, that one of the stories that have been circulating a lot lately is the fact that one of the reasons they've stopped using the words Islamic terror and Islamic extremists is because they don't know how the so-called and so far moderate Muslims are going to react to hearing those terms over and over again. And my first thought when I heard someone say something like that was, well, if they're truly going to become that angry over those terms, can you honestly say that they're moderate Muslims? And if we are trying to say they're moderate Muslims, why are we so concerned about whether or not they're going to be angry and put on a bomb vest? I don't understand the logic.
That was astute, if you will, boss. Notice that even now, after Paris, after consistent with Nigeria, around the world, few, if any, real Muslim leaders are coming out condemning terrorism. That, of course, tells most of the story. Some are afraid to, but they must support a caliphate. A caliphate is taking over the world under Sharia law, under Islam. The last one was in Turkey, the Ottoman Empire, in 1925. So they must support this, and they do, as you can tell, in that they don't condemn it. So that tells the story, does it not? You can't be a moderate Muslim. 300 million of them in the world have committed to jihad. After the recent Paris terrorist incident, there were celebrations in the street all over hard Muslim, Pakistan, Qatar, elsewhere, Saudi. So that's what it is. We've got an incredible threat. We'll address later in the program what our sources believe is coming and what we published in the magnifiedview.com, Rick.
All right. Well, joining me again this evening are Yoda and Backpack, the host of Voices of Global Freedom Radio, also they do run a how did you word it, 1 million view online magazine, magnified view. Also, Backpack has recently started another website that I'll let him touch on again. But here, actually, as of right now, we have come up against a hard break, gentlemen, so we'll be right back, all right?
All right.
This is Misty, owner of Wax It Studio in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm here to talk to you about a skincare product called Theramedics. Theramedics has a wonderful line of products from anti-aging to hyperpigmentations all the way to acne. In fact, everyone at some point in our life is affected by acne. Acne can cause a great deal of embarrassment and anxiety, and in order to prevent and help other people, I have tapped into this wonderful product called Theramedics. Visit my website at www.prettyskindeep.com. Again, that's www.prettyskindeep.com.
Called the USA, and we fly our flag cause we're proud and free, we're Americans. Red, white, and blue is all.
You liked him on Facebook. You followed him on Twitter. The Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show, a talk show host who's not afraid to say what's on his mind. A live, in-your-ears kind of program, coming to a computer near you, starting in January every Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern and 7 Central. Brought to you by the Spark Radio Network and K98Talk.com.
We're Americans. Red, white, and blue is our way of life.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program, America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
Folks, we're back. We're live. This is Rick Robinson. I'm the host of America Off the Rails. I did get a bit of an update from the guys in the engineering section. Apparently, we lit up so many folks trying to tune in all at once that it took a while for the tune-in feed to catch up, so congratulations to those of you who joined us. You did miss about the first 5 minutes from what I understand, so this will be available as a podcast later today. As soon as we conclude. Also, as soon as this show concludes, we will be doing the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show with my good buddy Grouchy. I'll be taking the booth run at that one, so he'll have the floor, he'll have the hour, and he'll bring you what he wants to bring you, so make sure you stay tuned. Again, I am being joined by very special guests and fellow talk show hosts, Roy Backpack Baron and Yoda, hosts of Voices of Global Freedom Radio, and I'll just kind of let you guys pick up where you left off right before we had to take the break.
Well, one of the emails that we got recently from Dearborn, Michigan, was a lady who moved into a neighborhood there, and unknown to her was suddenly she's right next to, within a couple miles, of Sharia law is taking place, and they have over 100,000 Muslims taking over Dearborn, Michigan, about 45% now, in one of the suburbs of Detroit. And so we're tracking that, and she's a close friend of ours. So she's telling us a lot of intel. A lot of Americans, this is the heartland of America where these Islams, and we're promoting that on the terrorcants.com website. It's really going to take off.
Well, yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm the first guy to talk about religious freedom, and, you know, I'm also, and this is probably going to make a little people angry because I know I've got some of your folks listening, but I'm not necessarily of the mindset that there can't be moderate Muslims, only because there are such things as moderate Christians. What concerns me is the fact that you really can't tell who's a moderate and who's not, and even our administration seems to behave that way because they're so worried about offending these people. If they're so certain that there are moderates out there, why should they be so concerned about offending them? And this is basically just describing my personal struggle, because I've had an issue with this for a long time, because I've read the Quran. It's a very scary book, and it's not something like the Bible that basically you can kind of read it in chronological order. The further back in the book you go, those are the passages that they pay more preference to and more deference to, and those are the ones where everything turns extremely violent and they start talking about converting people or killing them, and it's okay to lie as long as you're trying to protect yourself or if you're in fear for your life. Those are the scriptures that some people say the extremists are twisting, but if you listen to the extremists, as far as the extremists are concerned, the moderates aren't true Muslims at all either, and as far as they are concerned, they should convert to their version of Islam or they should die as well. So this is basically just my 30 seconds of my own internal struggle when it comes to this kind of thing, because I want to try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but not when I'm afraid they're going to try to kill me.
Rick, there are 1,334 years of struggles between the sects Shia and Sunni. This is not new. Neither are moderate. From birth, they try to stick spears and cut each other's heads off. Have you, sir, seen the Hadith, Muhammad's Hadith, like the Quran?
I have read the Quran cover to cover. I've only had limited exposure to the Hadith.
Take a look at those. Look at magnified view, and I'm urging your fine audience, thanks for having us again in the strongest terms, to do their own research. Backpack and I are non-monetized. We don't do this for a dime. We want people, including you, sir, to do your own research, read the Quran, read the Hadith, take a look at what's going on in the world. You cannot be moderate and a Muslim. There are a few branch sects where they bring naive people in. A lot of women folk fall in love with some Muslim guy and they jazz him around in a mosque a little while, though they're not allowed to sit with the guy in the mosque. So there just aren't substantial numbers of moderates. You can't be it, man. You just can't be it. What do you got for emails, Backpack?
Oh, we've got another emails about this abomination speech that everybody's talking about this week. It's made the news cycle, and it's really called a state of disunion. What we've seen in the last year, we want to emphasize state of disunion, and what has happened with the Ferguson and the city's destroyed. And the latest was Darren Wilson, the officer, has been there's no charges at all against him at the federal level, so that everything's been dropped. And this poor guy, we were just talking about him today in the newsroom. He's around 26 years old. What's his future? Is he, what is he, now that he's got all this on him and he was just doing his duty in Ferguson, what's he going to do? Have to live in a witness protection program? Or what are your thoughts about the thin blue line and our brave police officer, Darren, who did his job, and he's been cleared of all charges? But what are your thoughts, Ricky, on that?
Well, my biggest thought is, first of all, I'd like to take a moment to hats off to the guys who were leading that investigation and actually did do the right thing and not try to throw the guy under the bus, just because that's what Holder and the administration wanted, and somebody had him in a back room saying, no, this is how this is going to go down. So thanks to whoever stood up for this guy, because here's my thing with this whole thing, and this actually goes for both Ferguson and the issue in New York City that recently happened. This goes back, in my opinion, to a changing mindset within the last couple of generations, because we have people that have been raised to be told that it's okay, and that as long as you throw a loud enough, long enough fit, eventually whoever you're throwing that fit against is going to give in, because it works when they're home with their parents. So that works for a while, and they feel like they're the biggest, baddest guy on the block until they deal with somebody who's in a true position of authority who can't back down just because you think you're a bigger dick. And that's basically exactly what just happened, is this kid who thought he was the biggest, baddest guy on the block brought a couple of fists to a gunfight, and he lost his life for it. That's not the cop's fault. That's the kid's fault. And ultimately, sorry to say it, but ultimately it's the parents' fault.
Right, exactly. And we want to hope that Darren and is able to live a full life now, and he's young, and we have to wonder. We're looking to see if we can get him on a future show, Voices of Global Freedom Radio, to talk about how we can help him, and how we can help a fellow officer, because we have two choices in this country. One is we can have our police officers, or we can have anarchy, and we got to go with police officers.
Yeah, and I do.
So
and also if you guys get it, because you guys have better connections than I do. So if you get a chance to talk to him, just tell him that I said that if he's ever interested in doing any other shows, he's more than welcome to appear here as well.
Yeah, I would hope that there's some kind of crowdfunding or fundraising to help him. That would be a great thing if we can do. A big part of MagnifiedView.com and GlobalFreedomRadio.com is really taking action and not just sitting around complaining, but we do things to help people. I know Charlie Strange has been helped a lot with what he's been under, and a lot of other people we've helped really promote General Aldino and the cause for the Kurds. So a lot of these types of things is what we're about. It's more than being a talking head. It's also helping people that we see that really are in need of being championed.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you guys want to get something like that started, I'll definitely help get the word out about it. I mean, in between the followers that you have and the followers that I have, I'm sure at some point we could wind up helping the guy out a little bit. So if you guys want to see about getting something like that going, just let me know, and I'll put the links out everywhere you want me to put it out.
And we want to say a huge thank you to be syndicated with K98Talk.com and the SparkRadioNetwork.com is great. Syndication, we want to say thank you to Voices of Global Freedom Radio, working with you all, and it's been a great connection between all of us.
Yeah, it's definitely been a mutually beneficial relationship, and I do enjoy checking out you guys' show every Saturday. And I'm honestly really jealous because you guys have had a great lineup, I guess, even for the last couple of months that we've been carrying you. So just hats off to both of you. You're doing really good work. Also, I have one of my new guilty pleasures is checking out the Magnified View. I typically check it out at least once in the morning while I'm getting ready for work, and then usually, honestly, before I go live, I'll check it to see if there's anything that you guys are talking about that I think would make a good show topic. So, I mean, it's become part of my daily reading routine, so hats off to both of you for everything that you're doing, because it's pretty awesome.
Yoda here, Ricky. Go to the Magnified View, please. Check the article, Cultures Clash and Civilizations Crash. You will see a lot of quotes there from the Quran, and you'll see they're accepted by both Shias and Sunnis. So that'll give you a good idea of really where it's about. We're, of course, in our new wonderful relationship, we're going to share some guests with you, if you will, sir.
Oh, sure. You guys did shoot me an email today. I actually didn't know that show was out there, so I am actually looking into it now, and I'll probably get back to her in the next couple of days. Just to let you know.
Yeah, we'll be referring some really top-drawer guests to you. We like your show. We like what you do. Moreover, we like the way you do it, right?
Well, same goes for you guys, because, like I said, at this point, one of the biggest things I'm trying to do is just find like-minded folks as much as possible so we can help build each other up and see if maybe there's a way we can find a turning point before we run out of time, because I don't know about you guys, but especially after that State of the Union. I actually wrote a little bit of an article about that. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will quote the opening line. In his 7th State of the Union address, Barack Obama basically came out and took a few victory laps, a few jibes, and a few veto threats, and then did some revisionist history, the likes of which hasn't been seen since Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. That was basically the opening paragraph.
Well written, Ricky. I don't know that I saw it twice. I don't know that he told a word of truth in it. Our favorite subject is now terrorism is in the shadows. He recently let more hardball command-level line terrorists out of Gitmo, as you know. And a few days ago, he was bragging about sending them to Yemen, who was in his pocket. In fact, Yemen was taken over yesterday in the main by Al-Qaeda. So that's the country of Yemen on the Gulf, you know. That's the kind of buffoonery we're dealing with. It's certainly not naivety or an accident. No, it's got to be willful. Imagine a guy that avoids meeting with the briefers every morning. It's unimaginable that any individual, not president even, with an ounce of curiosity would be fascinated with this briefing, wouldn't it?
I mean, if he's not going to go, can somebody come get me? I'll sit in. Just saying. I would like.
I'll go with you.
I would love to see. I would love to see the information that this guy turns down every day, because I'm sure even me, with that type of a briefing, I could probably make better decisions than he is.
Oh, not a question you would. Moving over to a sober subject, if you will, Al-Qaeda has now 4 more times franchises, substantial, funded, armed, fanatical, suicidal terrorists than when President Obama came onto office 4 more times. Their planning cycle is 7 years. They're way extended their planning cycle now since 9/11. They always want a bigger bang. What's his name? My man Joseph, who the hell? No, anyway, said terrorism exists to terrorize. Why they do this is for publicity, without which it wouldn't mean anything. They pick the target, they pick the timing, they pick the weapon, and it's all about getting publicity. Al-Qaeda wants a bigger bang. They're always trying to exceed themselves. Some of their organizations are kind of in competition now, but they're certainly not rivals. As you indicated earlier in your show, it started with the Brotherhood, then CARE, and all these branches. So they're looking for a bigger bang. Our sources have the next event probably a simultaneous attack on 6 American cities. They might be Miami, New York, D.C., Chicago, Vegas, and L.A. They will try to hit us at morning rush hour, maybe on a Monday. And they're really looking for a big bang because that gets the publicity. Publicity makes them appear more powerful, stronger, and bigger than they are. Publicity helps them get funding. And publicity, as ISIS is currently doing on backpacks, social media, gets some new recruits. So that's what it's really all about. A simultaneous attack on 6 cities would result in a hell of a lot of publicity. So the real experts, not the sociologist professor in Alabama, who one of the news organizations makes a nameplate, they call him a counter-terrorist. But the real counter-terrorist heroes that we're privileged to hang out with, the analysts, the evaluators are predicting, as I said, multiple attacks on cities. Conversely, as you probably know, we've sent, between North America, Canada, USA, we've sent up to 1,000 young men over to fight with ISIS. They're on U.S., Canadian, and some European passports. They're one flight away from landing in an American homeland port of entry. They don't need visas. So everybody that knows what the hell they're doing is holding their breath, waiting for these guys to come back. They're hardened now in Iraq and Syria. They're desensitized. They can hang around and participate in beheadings. They can behead little kids, so they're not bringing any sensibility back to our shores. They're trained in weapons and explosives. Some are suicidal to get up to Allah and all those virgins. So the real experts now are concerned with imminent attacks here on our homeland. I would ask your audience to do some order of preparation. I'll turn that over to Backpack, if you will. I will say that in major events, your local cops aren't coming. They're being laid off all over hell anyway, the city police. They're individually affected, as are firefighters, as are medics, with the event. People don't understand that in natural disasters as well. In a hurricane, tornado, whatever, the coppers, firefighters are affected, have to take care of their family, already under strength, undermanned. You're going to get no answer to 911. You need to be self-sufficient. So it's time to go grab a couple cans of pork and beans. Not the Muslims, they don't do pork anyway. And time to get some water. Stand by for Backpack with some preparation, if you will.
Well, Yoda and I are going to, eventually we're working together to create a workshop series that we're going to put out there that really gets more detail, but I'm just going to give high level. That number one is medical. There was a recent case in Katrina when that hurricane came through of a guy who refused to bug out or leave when the storm came through, and all the hospitals were overloaded, and he got a simple cut, and he was able to survive by hanging out on the attic. And the son refused to leave because his father wouldn't leave New Orleans during that horrific Category 4 hurricane. So he got a simple cut hanging out on the attic. It wasn't anything major, but that water that was coming through New Orleans was all nasty and all the septic water and stuff. So he got a little something, bacterial thing in his leg, and within about, I want to say 18 hours, the father was dead. So it's all critical really to have a good medical kit. And with some of the other people that we know, there's a lot of really medical is number one, and then number two is having good water filtration. And then you want to have at least 3 to 6 months supply of canned foods and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of talk about the if things go down, you want to have at least 3 to 6 months of backup. So we're going to put together a seminar and really drill down. There's a whole lot more to that. And these seminars are very detailed, and a lot of prepper type of environments or groups that are out there. So, Ricky, have you been involved with ever in your life with prepper meetings or survivalist type training? Have you had some of that?
I've been involved in it in peripheral matters. I do have some friends who are part of I have a local group here that does some prep work. And honestly, if they're interested, I may try to see if I can put them in touch with you guys whenever you guys are ready to do the whole seminar idea, just so everybody can kind of maybe start networking together to start making sure that it goes more places. But I'll leave that up to you guys.
Sure, yeah. Feel free to have them be in contact with us. We'd love to work together, and it's all about helping people. So to be prepared, and that would be great. Feel free to send your contacts on to us, and we'll connect with them. We're also working on a magnified view forum that will be coming out soon that will really address a lot of these types of things too. We're excited to introduce the forum soon and a chat room that will come out very soon. So a lot of great things coming in 2015 for all of us.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've been struggling with the chat room idea for our website, but I can't seem to find any that don't wind up trying to put viruses all over my machines when I try to run them, and I'm not a fan of viruses. But gentlemen, I do hate to shut this down, but we are coming down to the end of the show. Got to change gears here in just a couple minutes so we can bring Grouchy on for his hour. Is there any last things you'd like to share with the audience for about the last minute or so before we have to shut everything down?
Yoda here. Heartiest congratulations on your being sworn into the conservative blog talk radio directory. You've hit prime time, which you well deserve, Ricky. Thanks for having us on tonight. Have any of your audience contact us personally. Yoda at magnifiedview.com. Yoda at magnifiedview.com. We will answer, depending on our field operations, may take a few days. We want to thank you for having us on. We would like to get you on our program, and we will be referring great guests to you.
Yeah, anytime you guys want to come on again, feel free, and we can definitely get a time set up where I can come hang out with you guys again. That was pretty cool when we did that the other night too. So it's been a while since I've actually done an interview and not been the one giving the interview, so that was kind of fun.
All right, thank you, Ricky.
All right. You guys have a great night. Again, for those of you listening live, we're going to shut things down for just a second while we change gears to roll over to the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show. For those of you listening on TuneIn, it may sound a little weird for a couple of minutes, but I promise we'll make sure that everything starts from the beginning this time. Apparently, the guys doing the engineering stuff had a bit of a snafu. Again, if you've been listening to this one or trying to listen on TuneIn from the beginning, you can catch it on the podcast later, because for a little bit we were still running a previous show. I'm not sure why it didn't change gears. But we're going to go ahead and shut everything down again. This is Rick Robinson. I am the host of America Off the Rails with you every Monday through Friday from 6 to 7, Saturday mornings from 11 to 1, and that is Central Time, of course. And my guests this evening have been Roy Backpack Baron and Yoda of Voices of Global Freedom Radio, and also MagnifiedView.com. Gentlemen, you have a great evening. It's been my pleasure, and we'll have you guys on again soon, okay?
Thank you.
Take care.
Ciao, brother. Be safe.
Be safe.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.